So you're thinking of moving to the Philippines? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break it down for you very simply as the pros and cons of going and living in the Philippines. So stay tuned and we'll get back to it shortly. On video. Yeah, now you can see.
Hello.
Oh, big shark. So we see, many YouTubers, have moved to the Philippines and they seem to have a pretty good life there. And I guess for some people they do and others they don't. For every one Western person you've seen move to the Philippines and make a success of it, there's probably another 30, 40, 50 who have ended up packing up and going home. So it's not all the beauty that you see all the time in these videos. There's also a different side to the Philippines. It's very easy to capture in a video all the really cool stuff about the Philippines, and there is plenty of cool stuff about the Philippines for sure. That's why people keep going there, going back there, and some actually move there. But there's also a different side to that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a list of some of the cons that I've worked out, so some of the negatives of moving to the Philippines, and also give you some of the pros, the benefits of going to the Philippines. So the cons. So obviously if you come from a Western country, straight away as soon as you go to the Philippines you're going to notice the infrastructure. It's far different and not up to Western standards by any means. So the roads, the sewer systems, the power. I mean, you'll see and you watch many of these YouTube videos from the cities in Philippines, Manila and wherever else, Cebu, and you look at the power lines, they're just going everywhere. And you've got to deal with when you're living in the Philippines, you have to deal with brownouts, power outages and all that sort of thing. Most places on a fairly regular basis. So that's something that I guess most Western people are not actually, familiar with and may not be prepared for when they go to the Philippines, unless they've done a lot of investigation into it, which I always recommend before you go and make a big move like that. You go and live there for maybe, 3 months, 4 months, something like that. Have a good stay there. Check out different areas to see where you might want to live. And it might be dependent too on if you've got a girlfriend or wife or whatever, where her family might be, all that sort of stuff. But another reason is the traffic and pollution in the cities is absolutely terrible. There's just cars going everywhere. There doesn't seem to be any real order on the roads. They'll make their own lanes wherever they want to. They'll zoom up on the inside of each other, and and by the way, if you're a pedestrian around walking, in the cities like Manila, very careful trying to cross the roads, because you can easily get skedoodled and knocked over by a car. So watch out very carefully for that. But yeah, I mean, I would never even attempt to drive in the Philippines. I can drive on my Australian license. I can actually drive in the Philippines, but I would never. One thing, it's on the other side of the road to what we're used to driving on, which would probably confuse the hell out of me. And second reason is that the traffic is crazy, and I don't think I can compete with those, or the way they drive over there. So it would be a bit scary. So another reason, another con, another negative to it is the poor internet. So generally speaking, by Western standards, the internet is quite slow and very patchy in a lot of places. Some places you can get reasonable internet, but generally speaking, you can have a lot of trouble with the internet over there. So it's not really up to what standards we would generally have, and that can be a frustrating thing. And if you're a person that gets frustrated easy, then I'm thinking Philippines may not be a good place for you. You've got to be able to chill and relax a bit. Another negative or con is natural disasters. They are the second most natural disaster prone country in the world. They get something like 20 odd typhoons a year hit the Philippines. There's volcanoes. It can be earthquakes. They're monsoons. They get a whole range of different natural disasters there. So if you're worried about natural disasters, typhoons, earthquakes, that sort of stuff, probably not a good place for you to go. And of course you've got the hot tropical weather. So it's a tropical country. Even in winter time, it doesn't get too cold. So if you don't like the hot weather, then it's probably not a good place to be. So think about the sort of weather that you do enjoy more, whether it's hot, cold, whatever. Because and with that hot weather over there, especially in the summertime, it becomes very, very humid. So you'll sweat a lot, and if you don't like that sort of thing, well, think again. So housing over there obviously is not the same standard as Western countries. You can pretty much just build your own house over there if you want to, and there's no real, I don't think there's any real codes or anything that gets checked or anything like that. So, but having said that, obviously if you were to move there, you'd probably buy something. If you were going to buy something, you might just rent too. But if you were going to buy something, you'd probably buy something fairly reasonable, I'd imagine. But housing on a whole over there is very, very poor. So crime in the cities, that's probably higher than where you might live. So especially being a Western person, you can be targeted quite easy. So you've got to take a lot of precautions at all times to, you don't put your wallet in your back pocket like you might when you're at home, like when you're in your country. You're going to get pickpocketed. You've got to hide your money, in a fairly safe place, maybe a money belt under your clothes, or in a slash-proof backpack. I'll put a link there to a Lock-Tote backpack, which is a very good, safe type of backpack, which will keep all your belongings safe and hidden away. But you've got to be aware of that. So whereas in your country you might just go trot off and not think about that you could get attacked, in Western countries it's far different than when you go over to the Philippines. So you've always got to be on your guard, always got to be looking out for what might be around the corner. So moving now, so they're the negatives anyway, they're the cons. Now let's look at the pros, why a lot of people might go to the Philippines. So firstly, people might be looking for a more simple way of life. They might have just had enough of the hustle and bustle and the stressful lifestyle that they have in their country, where you have to work hard, long hours, and there never seems to be any real relief or time for you just to relax and have go about whatever you want to do. It's not always as simple as that in Western society. Things seem to be far more full on, and sometimes when you get a taste of the more simplistic lifestyle, you want to race off and try that, or do that. So it can be, to a lot of people it's very, very appealing. And combine that with endless places to explore and see. If you've got enough money, you can travel around that country. You could spend so long traveling around all the different islands, all the different cities, the different provinces, experience the different cultures within the Philippines, the different languages within the Philippines, the different foods within the Philippines. There is just so much to explore, everything from amazing beaches to rainforests, volcanoes, just everything in between. It's pretty amazing, and of course travel within the Philippines is very cheap. Like by our standards, it's quite inexpensive. You can get an aeroplane, from Manila to Cebu, for example, $50 each way, or $100 return. 100 Australian dollars. I'm talking, so probably around about 70 odd dollars US return. Now that's pretty cheap just to hop, from one island to another and have a look around. Buses and jeepneys and trike rides, they're all very, very inexpensive. So you can get around that city, that country, very, very cheaply. So that can be a big draw card as well. So that, generally speaking, Filipinos are very very happy people and very welcoming. They will welcome you. Most of them will. I'm not going to say every single one of them, but most of them are very friendly, very warm, and very welcoming people. So that enhances your experience living there. And I've seen a lot of YouTube videos also where people who are living there, and they've been very much taken in by the community. They very much interact with the community, and they're treated quite well in that community. So they do welcome foreigners in there and make you feel at home. And probably one of the biggest draw cards for many people, when you're at the age of retirement, you might look at how much money you've got in the West, and you might think it's not going to last you that long in the West. It might only be good enough for 5 or 10 years, and then what are you going to do? You got to go on. You'll be on a pension, and will you survive on that? Especially if you don't own your house in the West, what are you going to do? Can you survive? And then you have a look at the other side of the coin. You look at the Philippines. The conversion rate, your money goes a lot further over there. So all of a sudden now, you see when you look into it, you say, oh, I can actually afford to buy a house over there. It might not be a huge house, but it might be a decent, 3-bedroom house that you can afford to buy, and your money will then, go a lot further over the years. But always recommend though, if you're going to go and move to the Philippines, that you always have a separate bank account for emergency. So if an emergency comes up and you've got to get out of that country for any reason, that you've got enough money to get an aeroplane ticket back home. That's pretty vital to do that. So the affordability factor is a big thing. I think that draws a lot of people there. So between the affordability and the simplistic lifestyle, I think they're huge factors that appeal, and they appeal to me too. I've got to say they're the two big ones that really appeal to me. And you can buy, while you can't buy a house in the Philippines unless you put it in your wife's name or whatever. You can actually buy a condo, so a condominium. You can buy one of those in your own name, but if you wanted a house, you'd have to get your wife's name, put it in your wife's name. You'd have to trust her enough to do that. And of course, if anything happened in that relationship, well, goodbye to your house. You don't have that anymore. But that's fine. Some people are prepared to do that. So and of course, the Philippines it's endless beauty within that country. Like, it's just everywhere you go, there's beautiful places, things to see, things to do. It's an amazing country. So they're my pros and cons of why you might want to go there. So you got to weigh those up. You look at those cons, especially. Can you manage, if you were to live there? Can you actually manage through living with power outages, traffic pollution if you're in the city, poor internet, especially in country areas or provinces? Some of the internet might be almost non-existent out in some of those places. So can you manage without that? Do you like the hot tropical weather or don't like the hot tropical weather? So hopefully this video has given you a whole heap to think about if you're thinking about going to the Philippines to live. And definitely, as I said earlier, recommend that you try before you buy, so to speak. Go over there for a length of time and get a bit of an idea and a feel for the place, whether you could do that on a long-term basis or not. So there we go, guys. If you've got any more comments, put them below. I'd like to hear what you think about this. If you've actually gone to the Philippines, moved there, I'd love to hear what you've got to say. Or if people think people would be a bit crazy to go there, or whatever reasons, put your comments down. Just be a bit respectful about the way you write them down. And hit the like button, of course. If you like what you see, hit that like button. If you don't like what you see, give me a thumbs down so I know what sort of content you guys enjoy and don't enjoy. Share it around to people who might be thinking about going to the Philippines. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And of course, put the notification bell on. So we've got plenty more stuff coming up. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye for now.